Hey everybody, I'm Josh Eisenberg. I'm the lead scientist in NLU at Arty. Arty is a startup in LA that makes virtual characters that you can talk to and have conversations with on your phone. What I do there is I use my background in NLU and NLP to help these virtual characters or NPCs have fun conversations with people. Today I'm going to be talking about my work on the Animal Crossing Artificial Intelligence Workshop, or ACAI for short. I put this workshop on my own during quarantine earlier this year. I had the idea in April and put it together. I actually had some help from my fiance, Amy Rubenstein, who helped put together the Game of Life art screening and some of the island visits for that. So I'll be talking about that later on in the talk. So first, let's start off with what is acai. Um, it's basically a AI workshop that happened within the world of Animal Crossing. Like earlier in quarantine, I was on Animal Crossing all day, every day, and I was also noticing that more and more AI conferences were going virtual. But they really didn't have the social aspects that I would have hoped they had. Like, they were mostly just pre-recorded talks with kind of sterile UIs. Like, I gave one of these, and it looked like this. Like it had my talk on one part of the screen and my slides on another part of the screen, and there's two videos playing at once, and they weren't really synchronized, and it just wasn't great. Like, why should it be pre-recorded? Why does it need to be that way? Like, why can't there be more interaction? So that was part of the reason I wanted to do this in Animal Crossing, because I wanted people to actually like interact with each other. Also, I didn't want things to be so scary. Like, there's AI research and just research in general in academia is pretty intimidating for normal people. So I wanted to make an AI workshop that anybody could attend just by going on YouTube. Like, I wanted this to be free. I wanted it to be on YouTube. I wanted anybody to just go to YouTube or acaiworkshop.com and learn about AI and learn about like what anything from like what people are actually doing to like create new types of AI to what's the interaction between AI and society and how does it affect people to what do artists think about AI and technology and what kind of art are they making about the current technology. Um, so, once I wanted to do this, I went down to my basement in Animal Crossing and I built a conference room. So, some friends sent me conference desks and conference chairs, but I opted for couches because couches are more comfy and all conferences should come with couches. I also put a cappuccino machine or espresso machine because what's life without espresso? And I also have a picture of Marina, or Blurp, who is one of my favorite Islanders. So yeah, I had the venue ready, and next thing I had to do was just find people to actually give talks. So I went to Reddit. I went to Reddit and made a post, a call for abstracts, and I also made a website with the call for abstracts and submissions. And like the main rule was that it just has to be real science. Like, it could be about anything dealing with AI, but it doesn't even have to be deal with video games or Animal Crossing, even though some people did make the research about Animal Crossing, which is awesome. Um, However, it just had to be real science, and if it fit, it fit. And overnight, in less than 24 hours, we got over 420 upvotes, which is pretty wild. Um, and after Reddit, a bunch of Chinese websites or newspapers published about it. So it was cool seeing a bunch of Chinese writing with Josh Eisenberg in the middle, and then posting my Reddit post and the image I made, and with pictures from my website and stuff. So that was pretty fun. And then VentureBeat actually wrote an article and interviewed me. Awesome piece by Carrie Johnson. I suggest you all check it out. My favorite part about it is that they're contrasting acai with ICLR, which is like one of the largest, most serious AI conferences, and how it's put on by thousands of people, and then my things, it's just being put on by one person, like it's a fully fledged virtual workshop, but as a staff of one guy. So I really like that. So people submitted papers or really abstracts from all walks of life, like some people who are doing their degrees, people from FIU, people from Johns Hopkins, people from industry like Unity and Mozilla and IBM and RD, which is where I work, and people from nonprofits that study AI, like the Gina Davis Institute on Gender and Media, and Kids Code Jeunesse, who's an awesome organization from Canada that deals with teaching school children about ethics and AI and how to go about ethically in the world and understand a world where AI has infiltrated everything. So it wasn't just academics, it wasn't just industry people, and it wasn't just people at nonprofits. It was people from all axes of AI were interested in this. So first, I'm going to go through the schedule of the day and highlight one talk from each of the 4 sessions. After that, we're going to talk about the coffee breaks and the Game of Light of Art screening. And then after that, we're going to finish up with some results from the surveys that I sent out about ACAI to the attendees to see how people actually like things. So the first section was People in AI. I did it this way. I made People in AI first because I think this is a super important topic that's not discussed enough. Like, I did a PhD in computer science and AI, and I didn't have one class or one lecture about the implications of my work in society, or the ethics of my work, and that's something that's so important. Like, you don't want to train racist classifiers or super biased classifiers. Like, people need to think about the implications of the work that they do. So I put this section together just to get a greater perspective about how AI affects society and the world. So the talk I want to highlight is from Juliette Waters from Kids Code Jeunesse about empowering kids to tackle the ethical questions of AI.
It's really to give kids and adults around them a bit of a tool to start thinking about how the algorithms work. And, we know that the algorithm in this video is being a little bit disingenuous when it says that it's going to explain how it all works. We all know, I think here in this conference, that as algorithms wrap themselves in deeper layers of neural networks, it gets harder and harder to explain how they come to conclusions. But the main thing is to get just a reflection started. And if you go to this website, you're going to see that there are other materials available to kids to get them talking about things like preference bubbles and to get them really thinking about their online habits and how they want to interact with the algorithms.
Yes, that was an awesome talk. If you want to see the whole talk, either go to the website, acaiworkshop.com, or on YouTube, look up Acai Workshop. I recently re-uploaded all the talks, like edited so that each talk is its own YouTube video, and they're within playlists for each section. So just look up the People in AI playlist or whatever you're interested in. Okay, and then after this talk, we had a coffee break. So one of the big draws about conferences is the networking and the coffee breaks and the like off-the-cuff interactions. Like, you're passing someone in the hallway and then you have a conversation and then you end up being collaborators or friends or playing video games together, going to the bar together, whatever. So I wanted to simulate that or have a version of that. So I had different coffee breaks where people would go to an Animal Crossing island. For example, from Kids Code Jeunesse, I think her name's Kimberly Adams, ran a section on ethics and AI. So people could go to this island and have conversations about ethics and AI. So they would go via Animal Crossing, you travel, you take an airplane via dodo code, and you're on someone's island, and you're there physically, virtually. And people were also on the Zoom calls too, so they could actually have a conversation with their voices and faces. So it's kind of like two technologies at once, a little complicated, but it's really fun. Like my friends and I have been doing that ever since quarantine. We would hop to someone's Animal Crossing island and video chat, and it's kind of just like a little easier than a normal video chat almost, because like you have Animal Crossing as a distraction. It's not so serious, but you're also talking to your friends, you know? So I wanted to redo that here, but about different AI topics. Like some of the other topics were like creativity in AI, music in AI, solving technical debt in machine learning, computer vision. Like there was things that were technical, there were things that were just fun. And things like looking for a job, you know, everybody's looking for a job always. So happy to help. And also during the coffee breaks on the main YouTube channel, we had video art playing. And so these are at the bottom some of the video artists that we had during this section. And we'll cover that more in a little bit. All right, the second one was natural language understanding, which is my favorite area of AI. It's what my research is about. Teaching computers to understand stories. I want to highlight a talk from Alexandra DeLucia. She did talk about decoding strategies for interactive narrative generation. She trained her computer to be able to respond to creative writing prompts. Pretty cool talk.
It gets better. So these are good. They seem to be pretty fluent. They're like kind of interesting. Okay. For p equals 0.9, this one where it starts getting a little wild. For some reason, like the purge is in here. Kind of interesting. There's more action going on. And finally, for p equals 1, also very interesting. We got heart implants, lots of pain. Our model seems to be a little on the dark side. But yeah, and there are a lot more examples elsewhere that I will discuss how to access them later. So this was just
another awesome talk. Isn't it so fun just seeing everybody's Animal Crossing character in the conference room with the PowerPoint slides and the room, and it's just pretty cool. I really like how it visually looks. Like definitely the slides could be a little bit bigger, but maybe everybody could just get bigger screens. I don't know. And then after this session, there was more art and more coffee breaks, so people had many chances to interact with each other. Like I didn't want there to only be one coffee break section with one topic. There were many coffee breaks with many topics. People could really like hang out and just socialize. Next was computer vision, another important part of AI, getting computers to understand what they see. So one of the talks I want to highlight is from Nathan Jones on detecting, recognizing, and analyzing animated faces. He trained the computer to be able to do facial recognition, or like basically draw a box around where it sees animated faces. Apparently this is very hard. Like computers were only good at finding like pictures of humans' faces, but animated faces is hard because it's different stylizations and different every cartoon or piece of art uses a different type of stylization, so it was hard to get this to generalize to different styles of art and different movies and that kind of stuff. So I'll let Nathan explain it and show it to you.
But none of this matters unless we're playing. We can analyze this model on a never before seen animation style. And so, Josh, if you can play that video, I actually ran the model on something that's very fitting to this conference, which is an Animal Crossing video. So the model has not seen this animation style before. Awesome, thank you. So the model hasn't seen this animation style at all before. I trained it with only TV shows. And so the fact that it's able to pick up on all of these characters, these cute villagers that are facing all sorts of different directions, all the Nooklings, these are what we would consider very non-traditional characters. And yet the model picks it up just fine. In fact, all these characters running around the model fully understands that these are all valid faces, and it's a little hard to see, but they're actually with really heights, which are really great.
So really cool talk. He specifically did this work for the workshop, which was awesome. Like it wasn't a requirement for the work to be new to get submitted, but it was awesome that Nathan was so inspired to do this through our workshop. And then the last section was games and AI, which I think is, at least in the AI community, an often overlooked part of AI, and it's a way more fun part of AI than what a lot of people think AI is. They think it's like just Siri and robots and the Terminator. But really, AI can be used to have fun and for entertainment, which is awesome that that AI can be used to make people happy. So I want to highlight a talk from Max Kraminski, who I also want to thank Max, and also Joe Osborne for inviting me to talk here at EXAG. Max actually gave a talk at ACAI. So here's an excerpt.
And number 3 is that we should study really closely the existing player practices around storytelling in games, because that can actually tell us a whole lot about what works and what doesn't and why that might be the case. So yeah, this has been sort of a synopsis of these 6 papers, basically. You can go to my website, mkromins.github.io, and sort of view all of these if you want. You can hit me up on Twitter at Max Kraminski, and I believe that's all. So thank you.
Wow, that was an awesome talk, and my timer just went off, so you were perfectly in time. It's a great job. Super. Yep, so that was another great talk. And then the workshop ended. It actually ended closer to 11 p.m. because we were running an hour late because I was having technical difficulties during the first section. The audio was messing up with OBS. So just know, if you plan on streaming one of these events, know that you will have technical difficulties, and it's hard to stream. It's not trivial. Yeah. So now let's talk about the art and the coffee breaks. Hopefully this video works, but it might not. So bunch of artists, I think like almost 15 artists were featured in the Game of Life video art screening. It was curated by Amy Rubenstein. Her website is www.amyrubenstein.com. The spelling of her name is right on the screen. And she curated 3 video art screenings, like during the coffee breaks, exploring AI and identity and gender and how AI affects society and just technology and all that interesting stuff. Like I wanted AI researchers and just anybody interested to see this kind of stuff, just to like see a different perspective of their technology and different perspective of the thing that they work with and they think they know so intimately, like to see how artists think about it and how people just in society think about AI is just really interesting to me. So I'm going to show short snippets of a couple of the videos. One of the artists is Molly Soda, whose work was shown in the National Portrait Gallery in DC, which is pretty awesome. Her work is dealing with how people portray themselves. Another artist was Rosanna Caban, who she's actually a sound artist, but she made a video in Animal Crossing. All right. The next artist is Joao Rocha from Brazil. Does awesome work about the internet, technology. All right, and the last video art I'm going to feature is from Rudolph.
I'm truly humbled to give the keynote address at the 12th Annual Corporate Personhood Symposium for the Confederacy of Non-Human Persons. If you are unfamiliar with my story, my name is General Electric KFC Taco Bell, and I am a corporate person who...
Some awesome videos. And then next I want to feature actually one of the artists who made a video or let us use one of her videos. She actually did an art installation, Coffee Break Island. Her name, is Nicole Kautz. She's also from Brazil. She made an island full of beds where you have to like roll through the beds to actually get from one end of the island to the other. So here's like a video of us exploring the island. I'm actually going to leave that up while I do the rest of the talk so you guys can see more of it. But it was really cool that artists like made installations that like people could go visit and experience like during the breaks of the conference, you know, like it's kind of a good way to, I don't know, decompress. Like you just heard an hour of AI people talking about AI stuff, and now you just want to have some fun and go see some art and hang out on beds with Animal Crossing characters. So I think it was a really fun juxtaposition. All right. Also, I want to talk a little bit about the coffee breaks for a minute before we get on to the surveys. Actually, I'll do that in the survey section because there's a coffee break part there. All right, so let's get on to the surveys. So who attended ACAI? Most people were between the ages of 18 and 30, but there was a couple younger people and some people who were older too, so people of all ages. Pretty even distribution, gender. How did they participate? How did they feel about the workshop? How many talks did you watch? Some people watched all the talks. There were 16 talks over like 9 hours, you know, so I'm surprised that anybody other than me watched all these talks, but even though they're super interesting. But a lot of people watched a lot of talks, like 13% watched between 9 and 12, 31% watched between 6 and 9. So I'm impressed how much people watched. And this is just of the like 22 people who filled out the survey. Really, we had over 1,000 people watching on YouTube, so who knows how much they all actually watched. Each talk was only 15 minutes long. Do you think they could have been longer or shorter? Most people said that they were just right. A couple of people said they would be longer. I definitely wouldn't make it shorter in the future. Do you think there were too many talks? Only 18% said that there were too many. Most people said 72% said just right. Like, it's a good amount of talks. Honestly, I think I would divide it up into 2 days of workshop next time, because like 9 hours of workshop straight and emceeing that is just a lot of work. And it's draining, so I think I would divide it up into 2 parts next year. Would you like to attend more ACAI events? 95.5% of people said yes. So this is what I'm most proud of here, is that people just liked it. People had a good time. They would attend more of these events if I put them on. So that's great. I feel bad about the one person who said no, but I'm happy 95% of people said yes. How'd you enjoy it? Most people said a 4 or 5 out of 5, so happy about that also. How often would you attend one of these events? Most people said either once a year or once every 6 months. So I think I'm going to try to do it maybe once a year, but we shall see. Did you attend any coffee breaks? Most people did. So the coffee breaks, some of the topics were art and AI, music and AI is political, computational creativity, grad students, commercial entertainment, computational creativity, looking for jobs or hiring. Let's see what people said about, or actually, most people actually went to the Animal Crossing islands. Like 78% of people went to the islands. Of the people who went to coffee breaks, 93% did video chat. So 7% didn't do video chat. Like I would expect everyone would, so you could actually have a conversation. But some people might have only wanted to visit the islands. So that's cool too. Here's some excerpts from describing coffee break islands. Someone said the coffee break was the highlight of the event. It allowed people to easily break the ice because there's a common interest. This is something that one of the reasons I wanted to do everything with Animal Crossing, just to make it easier for people to connect and interact. Like I feel like sometimes people find it easier to connect and socialize and have conversations with each other when it's virtually, especially if it's like a cute thing on the internet, and Animal Crossing is super cute, so I think it helped people. Some people said it was a little lackluster, wasn't much conversation, but I think most people said that it was fun and they had a good time meeting people. How would you rate your coffee break? Most people had a great time. Like 75% of people rated it a 4 or a 5. And then general comments about the entire event in general. Like some people said it would be good to have like places for people to go during the talks. So yeah, that'd be fun. Some people had complaints about the interface or just the technical issues, and yeah, totally. Like I want to make the proportions of the slides a bit bigger, but I also want you to be able to see the Animal Crossing character, and dealing with the Animal Crossing cameras, its own problem too. Like Animal Crossing wasn't designed to do virtual conferences, but I used it to do that as best as I could. One person relates it to their experience doing events in Second Life, and I was kind of thinking about that, like, are people going to be using Animal Crossing for the next decade to do events, and how are they going to do that? It's really cool how people have, like, jerry-rigged awesome things into Second Life, and I'm excited to see how people will use Animal Crossing in the coming years. And then I got one really negative comment. This should have been a fun event. Catch more flies with honey. There was zero reason to have selected talks at this event. You ruin what should have been a fun Animal Crossing event and turn into a pretentious ivory tower. Yeah, that's a valid criticism. I just disagree. Like, I think I accepted talks that wouldn't ordinarily show up in academic conferences. Like, one that I'm proud to accept was from Maggie or Yuanzhao Ma, who she's just starting this fall as a freshman at NYU. And she did work using reinforcement learning to train a computer to beat a Galaga-style game, like a space shooter within WeChat. That's the kind of thing that you don't see at normal games or AI or academic conferences. And I'm glad to give her the opportunity to give that talk. And I'm sorry that someone feels like this is a pretentious ivory tower and I ruined it because I selected talks. But I wanted there to be good talks, and I wanted it to be just like a fun and relaxed vibe, and people to learn things and also have a good time. Like, I made it free. I made it on YouTube. I think I made it as accessible as possible. Like, even when people didn't have Animal Crossing, I made avatars for them. So it's interesting to get this feedback, but it's definitely valid that I turned it into a pretentious ivory tower. All right, and that's it. I want to thank Max and Joe again for inviting me to give this talk. Super fun putting this together, and it's nice to like kind of memorialize or archive this event, or to archive ACAI. Like, this gave me a push to republish everything on YouTube and cleaned up format. So go check out the website to watch it. Go to acaiworkshop.com or go to my website, researchjosh.com, to see my research. Go to our YouTube or follow us on Twitter. And I'll be sticking around for questions. Like right now, for me, it's Saturday, but I know that you're watching this on Monday, and hopefully I will be on Zoom on Monday too and answer your questions. So I'll see you on the internet. I will see you guys in a minute, hopefully. All right, thank you.